Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
This is the Apollo Audio Podcast. Welcome to the Apollo Audio Podcast.
Hello.
Martin Lumsden, producer and engineer. And I'm with, as always, my personable co-host.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Personable.
I hope so.
Billy Hills.
Hello.
Entrepreneur extraordinaire, owner, bass player, guitarist.
Guitarist mainly, I'd say.
Guitar mainly.
Lead shouter.
Musician, all this stuff, yeah. and already interrupting. we've got a special guest,
speak when you're
a very special guest with us this week, because without you, literally none of this could happen. Right?
Oh yeah, thinking about it.
Yeah. We just would not be. Well, at least one of us would not be.
Are you Martin's dad as well?
Joining us for the podcast.
Oh, no, long lost brother Martin.
We've threatened to. It could be. If this was video, that would make sense. We've threatened to have you on loads of times.
Have you?
Paul Hills, welcome to the Apollo Audio
Good morning.
Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Paul Hills, and people who are listening to this may work this out because they're logical and intelligent people. Paul's Billy's dad. But that's not the reason you're here.
Right.
It's because, in your own right, you're an amazing musician.
Well, I've never been called that before, but
you have now.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I fiddle about the four strings and
tell us your musical history, Paul.
Musical history. Started late in life. No, not late in life. Probably the recorder as everyone did at school. Early years, clarinet. Always been into music. Tried to learn the guitar.
Yeah.
Classical acoustic when I was sort of 12, 13.
Yeah.
Fat fingers, never really got onto it. Or
was this like John Williams' Cavatina?
Yeah, sort of stuff he did, yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
But always...
I know.
I just said yes then, I didn't really know what it was. I think I should have known what it was. So, always loved music, surrounded by music in my house. My mum loved music, records being played all the time. And, but always liked beats and grooves. And so I was drawn to the bass, really, with the groove stuff, and just learnt in my bedroom. And then... What did I do? I was like 18, went to a house party, and told someone I was learning to play bass. I'd been playing for 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. And it was Rick Double out of my first band, Anzac Chant. He said, we were looking for a bass player. Would you come and join? But it didn't sort of matter how long you've been playing them days, because it was punk. It was punk, yeah. And it's 3-4 chords, So we did our first... I think we rehearsed for about a week, 2 weeks. Had 5 or 6 songs. Probably 2 or 3 chords a song, and did our first gig in Ware, in a place called Crackers, which is now, I think, an Indian. Anyway, and I think halfway through the gig I went out of tune. Yeah. I sort of pointed my head stuck out to the audience. Yeah. There must have been at least 5 people there, and someone tuned it up. Paul Diath, I think you know me. He was a bass player, and tuned it up for me in the audience. With me still attached to it. And yeah, that was cool. That was my first memories, my first gig. But
still don't know how to tune it now.
Still don't know. No.
Haven't played it since.
Well, I haven't played that one since. That was the old. What did I have there, Billy? That's a old bass I had.
Not the aria, the coffin one.
Oh, yeah, one of those. Shergold. Yeah, Shergold Marathon. Yeah. Yeah, terrible guitar, but I sold it anyway.
But yeah, was like that, wasn't it?
But you're still going now, right? You're still performing?
Well, we've resurrected. Re-erected? Oh, resurrected.
You can beat that already.
Erected. There's 3 versions of that.
Bleep that.
It's early in the morning. Yeah, so I think the 3rd time of resurrecting the Suicide Tapes. Yeah. That wasn't my first band. Anzac Chant was the first band, but then, Suicide Tapes, we played for a couple of years, did loads of gigs, wrote loads of songs, and then fell out. Well, didn't really fall out, but just, I don't know what happened. Musical differences is the old saying. Yes. Yeah. And then basically didn't see each other. Well, wasn't in the same room together for 30 years.
Wow.
And I was in touch with Steve, the lead singer, who's my best mate anyway, and Brian every now and then guitarist. But Rick turned up at the local pub. Yeah. And we thought, blimey, it was the first time we've been in the room for 30 years.
Here we are.
Had a go. And then second time, we did that 2 or 3 years, and then that folded, and then... Last year we resurrected it again and played a stadium gig this year, which was mad. Scunthorpe Stadium. Not a lot of people there, but that was an incredible experience. And then that's
not that many bands that will be able to say they played a stadium.
Oh, mate, at my age, in 65, it's ridiculous. But it's an amazing experience. Like all gigs are. Yeah. It's the best thing, writing and playing live is great. But that just folded a few weeks ago. We might Ruff was doing some recording, but I don't think for any more live stuff.
I resurrected my band from about 30 years ago
was really good,
based on a cassette.
Yeah.
That was all I had.
Did you really?
Was a mix down on
What
cassette.
band was that, Mark?
We were called Watchmaker.
Watchmaker.
Yeah.
Swiss band.
But all I had was a stereo cassette mix down from an 8-track session at a studio. But I managed to, we were talking about AI earlier on, I managed to use a bit of technology,
Or digital
Beatles-esque technology,
Yes, I thought that,
to separate the stems and remix it and re-edit it.
Clever that,
so it
yeah.
kind of poshed it up for a modern audience.
Did it sound all right?
Still no one's listening. But, but
I thought it was great.
it came out really well. Yeah, it came out really well.
The music
it's
video was cool as
like
well.
even old cassettes these days, it's amazing what you can do with sort of restoration and stuff.
That is
like
clever, isn't it?
Well, as a bass player, we were just saying before we started recording, a bit of sad news this week that Manny from Stone Roses
Yeah, that
and
was
Primal
unexpected,
Scream.
wasn't
Well, I
How
think
old
that's
was he, Mark?
taken everyone a bit by surprise.
He wasn't that old,
Is he Primal Scream as well?
Yeah, he played Primal Scream after. Sort of in between, actually. There was sort of he had a Stone Roses sandwich.
Was he in his 60s? Like 50s?
Only just, I think.
Yeah.
63 maybe.
Something like that,
I feel like I'm making that up. But he just, I think, very unexpected. He'd actually announced that he was going to go and do like a speaking tour. I think he's booked in for the local theatre for next year.
No way.
Oh, you're
That he was
joking.
going to come out, just do a Q&A type speaking tour, my life in music sort
God,
of
that'd
thing.
been good, wouldn't it?
And I think it's taken everyone by massive surprise, as these things often do, I suppose. We talked about Stone Roses' album on the podcast in our sort of first season of stuff. What I was thinking was, do you get that many bass players who are like that well known?
Yeah.
He was well known as the bass player from the Stone Roses.
Yeah.
Whereas people who are in music will know bass players.
Yeah.
We're trying to say, Mike.
but just-
I don't
Well,
understand.
just they're
the
they're
least
not,
important
they're
member.
not, they're,
No,
I'm
they're
not saying
not.
they're the least important. I'm saying that
Backbone
they tend to not be the ones who are like. I mean, you think about one
in
of
the
the things they said.
forefront, like people like Paul McCartney.
Yeah, one of the things I think they said about
Sting.
the Stone Roses that was people did know, like a bit like the John Paul, George and Ringo type thing.
Yeah.
There's that people did know the names of the Stone Roses. That was when you were into the Stone Roses, you knew. It
Yes, I
Like, you wouldn't know
understand what
the Oasis bass player, like unless you're really into it, like Gwigsy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The general public wouldn't know, but they'll probably know more
Whereas
Manny.
There are
Manny
examples,
seemed to
aren't
have
there?
a bit more of a profile as,
Yeah.
he was the bass
Yeah,
player in the Stone
yeah.
Roses kind of thing. Partly because the influence of the bass on the Stone Roses sound, and then that went into the sort of Manchester and then subsequently
His
Oasis
personality
as well.
wasn't he?
That was a real sort of
yeah.
draw. So yeah, sad.
Sad, yeah.
See someone like that go.
Old at all.
And Jimmy Cliff this week as well, I saw, which is not
sad.
a name that I know, not music I'm massively familiar with, but again, one of the sort of majorly influential artists.
Sorry, I have no idea.
He was a big sort of well-known. He was, I suppose, the early. When you think of reggae, Bob Marley is sort
that
of
sort of
the
era,
big
Billy,
name
yeah.
that you think of in that sort of era. But Jimmy Cliff was one of those who sort of introduced that style as well.
Was he a solo artist or was he in a
Yeah,
band?
Yeah.
So not the same sort of catalogue that someone like Bob Marley's got, but in terms of influence and as a name,
Yeah.
he's one of those that's major. I said I'm guilty as well of going, I know the name, I don't really know the music.
What was that reggae album we did on one of the first ones we did? It was great. It had like Louis and stuff like that on.
Yeah, I remember.
We all really enjoyed it.
What you mean? Oh gosh.
Insert here.
I know allowed to. I know exactly what you. Toots and the Maytals.
That's the one. Yeah. That was really good.
No, we all really liked that. I remember Miles saying, you hear these songs in like clothes shops. And
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
all the time. You're like, I know all these songs from Toots and the Maytals. And
What, from find some clothes on a Saturday morning?
Yeah. That's the sort of thing that you hear in the shop down in Camden or something. You'd be like,
Excellent.
we're always playing this sort of banging reggae tunes.
Do you know what album's getting slated at the moment? Have you heard clips from the new Ollie Murs album?
I've not heard.
Why would
clips
you?
from it,
But it's got that
spoke
ska
about that
reggae sort of
bonkers
influence
thing.
Yeah, and it's him trying to be like a bit of a geezer and doing like a ska, and it's so cringy.
I blame Robbie
And-
Williams for that one.
Yeah, no, they're referring like Robbie Williams did a song called Rude Box, which is
Yeah.
exactly like Ollie Murs did, and it's so cringy, rappy, sort of Essexy. And it's like, who's actually listening to this? They call it co-worker music.
What?
So someone,
Wow.
Co-worker music.
co-worker, so your mate at work. Or like some old lady at work listens to this sort of music. That's the new like TikTok trend.
Co-worker music.
Yeah.
Never heard that. Mind your mould.
So it's the sort you give the side eye to. You go,
Yeah.
what
Oh
the-
Christ!
what
You
the
listen to
hell
the
are
new
they
Ollie
listening
Murs
to?
album,
Yeah.
and it's awful.
No, I hadn't seen. I did see something that about Ollie Murs. Supposedly he'd posted saying, "These will be my last gigs. I'm leaving the music business."
Is that right?
Yeah.
I could only look at that and go, "That's got to be a wind up.
Yeah.
It's either a wind up or it's fake.
Will he be
or it's
truly missed?
something." Well, that's a good. Well, yeah, it
So
would
this
be
podcast
by
we're
your
doing,
co-workers.
we can say anything we like.
Yeah, just like people off.
Good slag people off.
He'd be
Great,
missed
isn't
by your co-workers.
I'm
I think
self-employed.
It's sort of incredible. Someone like Ollie Murs, when you think about it, he's been around for like 15 years.
Yeah,
or-
no, he said the first
It's
album was 2010, which is
yeah,
insane.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And he's got a couple songs on my playlist. I don't mind. Mills used to love him.
Mills,
As a
yeah.
sister. He's a bit of a character, but yeah, that Scarswell stuff is just a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sort of that.
Has he tried to find his
trying
niche?
something a little bit
Yeah,
different.
trying to find something different and failed.
Well, I think we kind of said this last week, didn't we? You got to kind of admire people for trying something a bit different.
Yeah.
Doesn't
But
mean
you
it
must
always
hear
doesn't
it and
mean
go
it always
like-
goes right though.
Then he must hear it. Someone in the when you're that big and you've got a music
Yeah.
label behind you.
Yeah, but
someone
you've got
must
too
be
many
doing it.
yes
Like
men saying, that's great, that's great, that's
someone
great.
should have gone.
You start believing it yourself.
Are you sure though?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is this
Yeah.
really a good idea?
The elephant in the room.
Anything else that's happening this week, Billy? What's going on?
I'm recording this weekend at Joplin House, which has got the 90s desk with all the new metal bands and
nice,
stuff on.
yeah.
So I'll probably tell you more about that next week's
Cool,
podcast.
that's fine,
but,
with Body.
yeah.
Always nice to be in the studio recording stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't. I was in the studio last week recording stuff, which was great. I had a couple of days. One day in with FO1 again. So we've got
Yeah, they're great.
Another couple of tracks coming out from them. I played back one of their tracks to someone. They said, "Oh, it sounds a bit like the Cars." Do you remember the
wow.
Cars?
Yeah.
Sort
know
of
what- yeah.
80s
Yeah.
American new wave
Yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah.
I thought that's not a bad. I don't think it sounds like the Cars, but it's not a bad reference to kind of pull on and go like, do something like that. But yeah, it's always good to be in the studio recording. So that's been fun.
I'm doing something really musical this weekend.
Yeah.
Putting a shed bass down.
With headphones on.
With headphones on, in the rain.
Well, I've heard plenty of drummers that sound like they're building a shed.
Yes, that's
sorry,
dead right.
drummers.
Yeah. What did our lead singer once do? There's about 5 bands turned up at this venue. We was all playing, and he won't mind me saying this, Steve. He said he tried to organise a bit. You imagine 5 bands turned up with all the equipment, and he got up on stage before everyone else did and said, "Right, everyone, can we have all the musicians over there and all the drummers over there?" Don't know how he got out alive, to be honest. That's a true story.
Love it. Right, we are going to talk about an album this week. We
Yes.
determined after the last few weeks that we should do something that people might actually have heard of.
How did we decide on this one?
Because people might actually have heard of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't remember.
And a
I think
40-year
we-
anniversary.
I think we did
Oh, yeah.
speak about Tears for Fears partly because you were saying about your... Tears for Fears came up because you were talking about your thing about naming duos, successful
Oh, yeah,
duos.
yeah.
And there was a little bit of debate about whether Tears for Fears were actually a duo.
Yeah.
So this week's album is Tears for Fears, and it's their... It's not. Is it their biggest commercial success? I'm not actually sure, but
It's probably not their biggest
It's the
song,
one
though.
that
I
made.
think it
It's the
is,
one
yeah.
that made them big.
Yeah.
Which
The
is
second
songs
album,
for the,
I think it was
songs
the
from
biggest.
the Big Chair.
Yeah.
Because I've got a feeling that their album after this, the Seeds of Love, was actually more
Probably sold
commercially
more.
successful.
Yeah.
It was,
But I
yeah.
don't think it's the one that's remembered as fondly, shall we say. So songs from the Big Chair. It was 1985, which I remember, and Paul remembers. Billy, you don't
Wasn't
remember. But
Was alive.
the reason, Paul, that you're here is because this is one of your favourites, I was told.
Yes, well, one of my favourite bands, always have been. I've got an eclectic mix of music and bands I like, but it's all about mood, obviously. But this
Yep.
is a band that really, really got me. You know, as I mentioned earlier before we started recording this, that I see them 1983, Queensway Hall in Dunstable. Weren't a lot of people there, really, but
Yep.
I just, and I don't think the album. What was that Hurting album? Was that 83? That was Hurting Tour, anyway, the first tour.
Yeah, 83. I
Yeah,
think it
and
would
I've
have been,
loved them ever since, and I've obviously played it in the house and stuff, and Billy's listened to it, and
Yeah.
hopefully I've influenced him, and he's definitely influenced me with some of the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But the way, especially Billy, writes songs as well with the highs and lows, but also
Yeah.
going off somewhere else, not just a intro, verse, chorus, middle
Yeah,
eight,
yeah.
verse, chorus, outro. There's more to it. It's a piece of music, not on every song, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they can go off somewhere else and come back, and I just think one of the most original bands.
Yeah.
Out basically. Always loved them. Isabel, fantastic songwriter, great voice. Kurt Smith, brilliant. When did they disband? They disbanded a few years back. Did a couple of times, didn't they?
They fell out a bit, sort of late 80s, I think. And there was an album that came out. Their fourth album that was under the name Tears for Fears was all Roland Orzabal. Kurt Smith was gone, he'd left.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then they had years of...
And then Roland Orzabal
not-
obviously done some of his own albums under the name
Yes,
of...
after that as well.
Raoul
But I think there
Kings
was
of
two
Spain
albums that were Tears for Fears that were just him. And then
Yeah.
they got back together again about 2004,
Yeah, they'd have
I
fallen
think,
out, didn't they?
briefly. But they've very much been back together for the last 2 or 3 years. They've had two new albums out as a duo. Again, going back to the duo.
We saw him about 5, 6 years ago, didn't we? The O2.
Yeah,
That was
and
great.
then I was lucky enough to go and... I was very lucky enough to get Shepherd's Bush Empire tickets. Was a few hundred people, 1,000 people.
1,000
You know, it's
people,
unbelievable,
1,500,
Yeah.
And then I had tickets for the tour. They was doing like stately homes and stuff, but then
Yeah.
someone fell off stage and hurt themselves.
Oh, wow.
So that was broke a rib, and that was Kurt Smither. But that was cancelled. And then luckily enough, I it's a bit of a funny story, but massive fan, always looking if they're touring. And I said to my wife, Michaela, they're touring. This is last year. Brilliant. Then we looked at the dates, and it was Fontainebleau, a new hotel in Vegas, and they were doing 3 or 4 nights, end of October last year, and November. And we both looked at each other. We'd never been to Vegas. Shuey. She booked the tickets for the gig, and then we built a holiday around that, which was amazing. With my brother and sister-in-law, which was really good. But they've just done the same thing. I don't know if it's a residency, but they've done it end of last month and this month the same. 3 or 4 dates at the same venue. Great venue, you know. But yeah, that was to promote the last album, which was only 4 original tracks, but a lot of live stuff, you know, from before, which is still a good album.
Yeah, good.
Well, even this album we're doing, there's only 8 tracks, but they're so like... It still feels like an album because there's some longer ones in there, and the amount of production and time that goes into it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've said before, haven't we, that this is an era when things were... It's pre-CD still, but still pre-CD. So you were limited to the amount of time that you could put onto an album, not so much the number of tracks, but how much. It was basically 23, 25 minutes a side. If you went longer than that, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, you'd have to get a double album then.
And you'd have to get a double album.
Yeah.
And as I said,
commercially,
double albums were a nightmare because they couldn't make money back on double albums. So that's why very few of them existed.
What was the most famous or your first double-gated double album? Or the big one that everyone... The first double albums have arrived.
Well, I guess it'd be the White Album, would it? The Beatles' White Album.
Probably the first one, but I'm thinking something else. I'm thinking Peter Frampton.
Oh, was it Frampton's Alive?
Frampton's Alive, and you opened it up and it was just him in the middle of it, a massive long picture of him. I digress there, sorry.
At that point, I have to say, before my time.
How old are you, Mark? 3 years older?
Have you ever said that on that podcast before?
But then I just mentioned the Beatles' White Album, which is also before my time, but just know it.
Sorry, I'll digress.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I was trying to think what the first double album I would have bought would have been. That would have been a double album that I would have bought, and I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, no, so there
was
was
probably something by Japan.
I never think double albums are a good idea.
Yeah,
No,
and they were
commercial
rare
viable,
because you couldn't put that much on.
But it's just like, if you've got
But like
20
I said,
tracks,
there's only 8
put
tracks
10
on this
best ones on there. You're going to have a bit of a filler, aren't you?
Yeah.
At least a few. So.
Yeah.
So is there only a limited time? Obviously, there must be that you can have on one side of the album. Because remember, the old albums there was more than 4 or 5 tracks on the sides.
Yeah, but you'd still be typically in total. You'd be around about 45 minutes ish for a total album, and you'd be around 22 to 25 minutes per side.
Of course,
there was a lot of, without getting too geeky about it, there was a lot of technical things they had to do to get music onto vinyl as well. The way it was mastered needed to be different, and you couldn't, because of the way the grooves work.
Yes.
You'd need to be careful about which songs had lots of bass in them, and because it would just throw the needle out of the record and stuff like that.
Yeah, Billy done something amazing for me. Put all that stuff from a band I was in called Before the Storm, and got all that done for me, and the artwork, and presented it for my birthday. And I don't know if you've seen that John Lewis advert, the Christmas advert, which me and him, we haven't fallen out, and we're not distant, but it just reminded me of that advert. I'll cry at the drop of a hat now anyway, being old. But that advert certainly done. But that was...
But you have to choose the sequencing of like...
Yeah.
And because their band had a lot of segues, it's like I had to put them 3 tracks together.
Yeah.
That meant sacrificing a song because then you can only have so many on each side.
Yeah, you'll be like 23 minutes a side.
It was difficult to do, Bill, wasn't it? But I really appreciated it.
But there's that, and there was that, so how much time you actually had available to you per side. This is why mastering engineers exist, really. I think it still feels like a bit of a black art. But mastering arrived initially from the physical transfer onto a physical product that needed to be correct for that physical product, otherwise it wouldn't work.
So you're trying to justify your job now, Mark.
Yeah,
always.
When I was listening to this album, though, I did think like amazing tracks. Obviously, you brought up with it, and there's certain melodies. I haven't heard this album in full in ages, possibly like the first time ever. But there's certain melodies you sing sometimes. I was like, oh my god, it's from this song, like Working Hour, and there's like ones like the Mother's Talk and stuff like that. I was like, I didn't know what song it was from, because I just heard it. You've just sung melodies before, just out loud, and it's been out of that.
Well, the Working Hour, sorry to interject there, Bill, but they was going to call this album The Working Hour. But it got changed at the last.
I think it's such a great melody, that's got stuck in my head. But there's certain tracks midway through where it takes there's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes without any vocals. You wouldn't get that in this day and age, in the streaming
you're right,
age.
Billy, you're right. Yeah.
Unless you're a prog band and stuff like that, and you're not really appealing to the mass audience. But these were a mainstream band with big instrumental tracks, not necessarily their singles, but we had a chat with Harry, the bass player, the other day when we were recording. It's like, let's cut the intro of the new one, because streaming-wise, they'll turn off if our intro's too long. And we're discussing cutting out a part of the song I like, so we can appeal to the audience.
Isn't it? That is
There's a 2 minute intro,
it's very tricky. That discussion that you're having with your band is like, is that the right way to go? Like, why are we doing this? People will switch off. You're like, will they though?
Or, do we have a radio edit? Do you have a live version?
Yes, the edits there. I
are we
understand
being
that,
told that they were? But it's a really good point you make, because even the singles on this album, this Songs from the Big Chair, the first single from this was Shout, which I think in its
great
album,
track opener.
In its album version, it's about 6.5 minutes long. And I remember when I first heard that, I thought it was Depeche Mode when I first heard it. When I first heard it on the radio when I was a kid. And I was surprised it was Tears for Fears, because previous to that, The Hurting had been an album. And stylistically, it's a little bit different. The music's a bit more organic.
What's the track, Martin, that they I should know this, if it's on this album or not? I've done research a little bit better. Billy was saying about instrumental, or long intros. They do a BBC voice, a BBC presenter doing the shipping forecast, the weather forecast for ships.
I don't know if it's on this one or not.
Yeah, but they did things like that, which is amazing. It really works.
Well, it's not on this album, I don't think.
No, but that's the sort of stuff
like
they
the samples and stuff like that.
Things like that.
Yeah, amazing.
And I do think there's one point, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like, everybody wants to rule the world and shout at timeless tracks. Like, everyone knows them.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's a couple in the middle that say that is so like 80s. There's like the drum track sound. You can't get away with the 80s drum
drums
sound.
and that,
that sort of like the
program
sound. Literally that sound. I was like, this is so 1985. And then, but I love it. Like towards the Head Over Heels is one of my favourite songs ever. The bass line is. We were discussing how good a bass line is. But I like the sort of like. Again, we talked about it last week, like the sort of motif, the refrain that is repeated. So it's clever songwriting. They're a musicians band as well. They're not just doing songs for the public.
Billy, definitely.
The little refrain that goes into the next one, that goes into that. Clever bits of songwriting.
I think it's from this sort of, they're a big commercial pop artist, and that's the difference now. Bands are still doing this kind of stuff. But they're not at the sort of big commercial pop end of the. It's less accepted, like you said. Now you're kind of, we need to make this. The vocal needs to come straight in. We can't have more than a bar of instrumental before the song starts. It's got to be less than 3 minutes long. All that story.
Who are you writing for?
And you could be a sort of big commercial artist and release a single that's 6.5 minutes long, and still complain, because there's a line in Everybody Wants to Rule the World that says, "So sad they had to fade it." Which is referring back to
good point.
Shout, because in that they're basically saying, that's that we're annoyed that they had to fade that one for the single.
That's mad.
That's why that line's in there.
It was originally supposed to be called something else. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, wasn't it? Probably better if I knew what I was actually going to say, but it basically wasn't called that first of all.
No, a lot of those things were changed. So this album was.
But like I said, it's there's a lot of instrumental, non-lyrical stuff on this album. It's not an album of just songs.
5 singles for the album.
Probably would be 12 songs long, but it's only 8.
5 singles.
What are the singles?
I don't know if they're just UK and America, but there was obviously Shout, as we said, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels, my favourite, Mother's Talk, and I Believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they released them as well. So
Everybody Wants to Rule the World is probably one of the most famous songs now, isn't it? It's still like
it's got to be
using
their,
adverts.
It's got to be their biggest one.
Well, Kurt Smith driving my favourite Austin Healey, British Racing Green Austin Healey.
Nice.
But
that was used. They used that in a charity as well, didn't they? They used that Run the World charity or Sport Relief. Did they not use it? Everybody, they changed it, re-released it as Everybody Wants to Run the World, I think.
That's it. Yeah.
So that was another big.
There's a new film out now as well about table tennis, up and coming.
Oh yeah.
I've
Table
heard
says-
about that with
Yeah,
Timothy
it's,
Chalamet.
Yeah, I think
What's
it's
that
out this
about?
month. Or,
But it's not. I don't think the table test is a massive part of it. In the trailer, they made it look like
It
he's
looks
going through like
interesting.
hell as well.
yeah,
like-
trying to raise money, but
Yeah.
Mad World, a version of Mad World's in that
Oh,
film.
we discussed this the other day. It's like
Which
they
is not
made
part of the album, but-
all the songs slower. Well, they did that with Donnie Darko, didn't they? Mad World and that.
yeah, they've done
But
different
that was
versions
actually
of it.
that was the Christmas #1.
Really?
That
There's
version.
so many versions of that,
Gary
Jules. Yeah, that's a
version
great
of
song.
Bad World. Yeah, that was Christmas #1, whatever year that was.
Didn't we say, because it was talking about an album and it took someone off the charts that was going to be, and then Gary Jules came along.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I have to go listen to the podcast now.
Maybe.
Go back.
I'll have to find that.
Yeah.
I need to catalogue these podcasts better to remember our conversations. There's one of the tracks that sort of appears. It's certainly presented as if it's live. I don't know if it was recorded live. But
Yeah,
it's got
the
audience,
last one.
Cheering.
listen?
Yeah, no, I wondered if that was live or not.
Yeah. It's certainly presented on the album as if it is, because you've got audience sound off the off
Was it the
back
thing
of
you have to one live track on there, or they
Yeah.
made it feel live?
Yeah, or maybe they just preferred the live version.
Yeah.
So actually, we did a great version of that. Let's stick it on here.
So, do we know where songs from the Big Chair at the title come from?
I'm
Asking that because I know.
No,
I
yeah.
was going to say, I'm
Well,
going
you
to
all know now.
guess. I don't know
I did some
exactly,
research.
but I'm going to guess it's something to do with the primal scream therapy.
Yeah.
Talking of
Well,
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Scream.
that's not a bad link, is it? Derived from a 1976 TV film called Sybil, about a woman who has a multiple personality disorder who only feels safe sitting in the analyst's big chair.
Right,
So yeah, that's where it was derived from, evidently.
right.
What does the primal scream thing mean?
Well, it's kind of what got Kurt Smith and Roland Orzabal together. Was they were both reading or experiencing primal scream therapy,
Yeah.
which is kind of how it sounds. It's all about shouting. It's like getting you, and they've got a song called Shout. The Hurting is very much written around that sort of
Big time, yeah.
stuff. I forget the guy's name, but he was, he's like a Freud or someone like that who invented this version of therapy where you regress to childhood and you kind of scream out all your fears and concerns and angers, and you literally scream them out.
Yeah.
Well, the first album, The Hurting, a lot of the lyrics were about parenting and that, and mother, the mother and
that's right. It comes from that, and you can hear that still in some of the songs on this album. Shout being one, Mother's Talk being another one. I remember when that single came out, and you're talking about sort of weird. It's a really odd melody and rhythm.
As I said, it doesn't strike me as a single, that one. I'm really surprised by that.
I think they remixed
it. It was.
They redone it for a single. But you would.
It was a really odd one, especially having come off the back of things like Mad World and Mother's Talk came out, and you're like, what actually is this? Because the sound of it is different. The rhythms of it are very syncopated. So it's interesting that you go back to a time when these type bands like this were huge.
Yeah.
But they were really pushing the boundaries of what.
And lyrically, he's so deep as well. You think it's a pop song, like everyone.
Really deep.
If you look into his stuff, because I've seen interviews with him, and he's like going through depression, especially Mad World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
exactly.
deep, first single, and he's so young. And he says, he looks back now, he's 60s, whatever. He looks back at his younger self and says, how did I write these lyrics? You just at the time, but there's depth to the songs as well. Not only musically, there's so much depth, the amount of layers. And I'm always in awe when I listen to this. It makes me almost want to give up.
Every track's a musical masterpiece.
And it's just how are you doing?
I know,
You're Beethoven, with the stuff you're doing with the keys and the guitar.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guitarist as well.
He is. It's fantastic.
That Year of the Knife song, I know it's not on. Is that the song that says Love? They've got Phil Collins on that track.
Phil Collins played the drums on that. Amazing.
And the guitar solo.
I think he plays drums on this as well, actually.
Does he really?
I think so.
Yeah. There was a TikTok trend going around a couple of years ago about trying to play this song Everyone to Rule the World in just 4/4, because it's the dun dun dun. It's actually quite a hard rhythm. Yeah. And if you just do dun da, that song's all about the rhythm of the drums and
totally.
that dun dun.
Totally. Yeah. But interestingly enough, going a bit deep here, I suppose, but when you're an up-and-coming artist and you want to get a recording deal, you write loads of songs, you tour or gig and do loads of songs. Surely you have about 2 albums worth of songs at least for your first album. And I know people pick, the record company picks certain songs, and you must have some rights to as well. But do you think this album was part of that first album? That were they don't seem to be as tracks over from that first album to put on a second album.
Yeah, it's probably mature songwriting, isn't it?
Right.
But and then probably more studio costs and bigger production, isn't it? But I see what you're saying,
I think it's bigger production.
It's hard to know.
definitely.
Like I said, quite often, I mean, they talk about second album syndrome, don't they? Because of that reason, like bands will get picked up off the.
I think it's third album
the
also.
songs. Well, it's like you've got all the songs for the first album.
Yeah.
You've had your whole life,
and you pick all your you've spent all that time up to that point, and then you've got to come to the second album. Like the second album syndrome is either we've got nothing left, or we're using the ones that were rejected from the first album.
Yeah.
So there's two of those things going on, both of which might lead you to go, the second album is never going to be as good as the first one, or it's going to be a big challenge. But I think you have got bands that don't do that, and I would say I don't think they did do that. I think they've kind of gone, right, we've had an album out. Now they're writing a new set of material. Might have had the ideas for it in the first one.
I think second album is like.
I don't think it's leftovers though.
No, I don't think so.
First album is like, and I've been in so many bands now that my first album is
you forget
songs I've had. If I had my first album, it'd be songs from when I was like 14. Now I'm 29. You write new songs all the time, so it depends what stage you're at in your life. But I think first album they probably won't sign straight. They're probably still working jobs. Second album. You're a full-time musician. You can be in the studio.
You got more time.
You can devote your craft.
That's true.
So I think it swings and roundabouts.
It's a tricky skill to keep going, and there's lots of things that play into this, isn't there? Like we've talked before, but Stereophonics being an example I always think of, and Oasis are a little bit similar to this actually. That you've got your first couple of albums are like, we want to be rock stars, and it's aspirational. And Stereophonics were similar. They were telling stories about their like growing up and their lives and like real people kind of thing. And then you get into third album and it's all like, oh, it's miserable touring, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't like being a rock star.
Yeah.
And Oasis were sort of similar. It's like, it's no longer aspiration about we want to be rock stars. It's like, no, we are rock stars.
Yeah.
And you kind of detach a little bit.
Right, and on the road,
and then something's not quite as good. But then
Yeah.
you've got examples like U2 who basically take 4 albums before they get big. That the first 3 albums are like,
They're one of my
they're all right.
favourite bands. Yeah.
And then 4th album is like, enormous.
Or you're Noel Gallagher and you write a song and save it for your third album.
Yes.
Because you're just that. You're
or you put all your best songs on B-sides from other songs. Like, and then think later, you go,
Well,
why did I do that?
He had 3 albums planned, didn't he, right from the start?
And it's like that can happen. You've got all that content if you're good enough to do it.
If you're good enough, Well,
you go back to the 60s where you got the Beatles as an example, not just them, but they're releasing 2 albums a year. Like, how the hell are you doing that?
Oh no, because you're contracted to, but
Not just 1 album, but 2 albums every year, and now you've got like 4 or 5 years between albums before you. Like,
well, that used to be the deal, didn't it? You had 4 singles, 2 albums a year.
Yeah,
you know, that was the standard deal, I think.
Yeah, this was a massive commercial success, though, wasn't it? It was huge, basically. This
And that's why it's been re-released for 40 years anniversary. It's amazing, 40 years. Where's my life gone?
But it feels like
it's part of my life. That album, you know, it sounds a bit heavy, that one, but
it's interesting.
Music is
like I've said this before about a couple of bands from that period. I don't think they were as respected at the time as they are now.
No.
And people look back, and even like younger generations that go back and say, oh, they were really good, weren't they? Whereas at the time, I think they were a bit like, oh, Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
They're not proper.
I was thinking this in the car about the whole like AI thing, because like when this probably isn't wrapping up, this will go into a whole new realm now.
You're going to be late for this.
When the keyboard like sounds came along, I can imagine it was very like, oh, they're using computer style sort of stuff. But that's sort of like you got past that. It's not real instruments, but it is, isn't it? I can imagine that was very much in the 80s sort of new wave stuff.
I think that's a really good point.
Accepted though, because so many bands were doing that.
Yeah, but I can imagine this first, like from punk to that.
I think that's a really good point you're making, because I
definitely.
can remember Queen used to have specifically on the credits of their albums, no synthesizers were used in the making of this album. It was like, oh no, we only use proper instruments. And then, you know, give them 5 years and they're doing like, what's it, The Works. Radio Gaga and all that, with synths everywhere. And I think it's a really good point you make. At the moment, I think we're going through that with AI as well. Like, oh, we can't do that, and then there'll be a point in the future where it's just a thing we do. It's just a thing we use.
Everything returns back to base at some point, doesn't it? Like, you fear it, and it just becomes part of it.
Becomes the norm, doesn't it?
And then you always have real stuff and what is real. I don't know.
And then we build the Terminator, and we all die.
But I think, you know, what you're saying, I think they were still probably one of the best bands that enhanced.
But they've been more appreciated over time. Even Noel Gallagher likes them. He calls them a guilty pleasure, but I don't know how they're a guilty pleasure.
I get it.
Yeah, but should you feel guilty? And I like heavier stuff. I've got wide taste,
I feel
like
guilty
you guys.
for listening
But
to Ollie
one of my favourite bands, Tears for Fears, and you sit back and watch people's faces. But I don't feel.
I don't think they're like that.
I don't feel
I think
ashamed
they
about
maybe
that
were.
at all.
Is it sort of because
I
people go,
love
but
them.
how can you like Tears for Fears and the Sex Pistols?
Well, exactly.
But it's like because I
that was
understand music.
growing up.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
point,
listen
Martin.
to music. Yeah.
Thank you for resolving that for me. That's good. I don't feel ashamed now.
That's it. Songs from the Big Chair, 1985. It's massive. It's back again. You can get it out on vinyl.
And it's not a weird
They're
listen.
Still touring. It's not a weird listen.
It's my first normal listen.
It probably is the first one in a while. Yeah. So go check it out.
Have you got any recommendations for us?
Yeah.
What
What
do
should
you
we
for another
listen
album?
to next, Paul?
Oh, I don't know. You've put that one on me. Something from my era would be great, but no,
Right.
I
Text in.
I will do.
text-
Yeah, let
text
me have a
in,
think
let us
about
know.
that one.
Are you
That's
going
a
to
good
come
question.
back?
Oh no! I'll tell you what you like. Who are you obsessed with at the moment? And he's quite new.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I'd see him just recently. I thought I'd be the only person at Shepherd's Bush Empire.
Yeah.
But it was banged out. Yeah, Stephen Wilson Jr. is honestly
Okay.
You give that one a go.
I was
don't know that.
thinking, I'm country western I like now, but it's not. It's more bluegrass and
Right.
well,
We haven't
he
done
even
that,
does a
really.
cover of
Stephen Wilson Jr.
Oh, you got to listen to this
All right.
guy. He's
We'll-
become massive,
check
absolutely
that
massive.
out.
He's going to be the next big thing.
What album?
Son of Dad, which obviously for me, lose my dad at a young age like he has, and but when I see him and I've seen like you guys hundreds of gigs, most unique gig I've ever seen. You know,
Wow.
funny, personable, asking questions to the audience. You know,
And he's 40s,
one of the
isn't he?
best,
And
yeah,
he's
and
just
one of the
been,
best
like,
guitarists out, and he plays an
right.
acoustic guitar with nylon strings. How the sound he makes, I don't know.
We'll have to check it out.
Please check that
Son
one
of
out.
Dad.
That's one. to
Son of
check out.
Dad,
Loads
Steve
going
Wilson
on.
Jr.
I'll tell you what we'll have to get into fairly soon is that people are starting to release their best albums of the year stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get into that soon as well. But in the meantime, thank you very much, Paul. Are you going to
Paul.
come back and tell?
I'd love to
again.
if you accept me if I come across to okay on this.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
We'll see what
I
the
mean-
audience think.
We'll see.
See what the audience thinks.
We'll do the edit and go. No, that was. Yeah.
I've loved every minute of it. Thank you for
I thought I
inviting
was
me,
going
guys.
to be on that podcast. Yeah. But thank you very much, Paul. It's been great having you
Thank
on.
you.
Good to have a different perspective. Billy, as always, thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you,
us. Thank you,
Martin.
everyone, for listening. That was the Apollo Audio Podcast this week. Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. You can find us on Instagram at Apollo Audio Podcast. Email us apolloaudiopod@gmail.com. We're all over the place everywhere else. And don't forget Apollo Audio reduction, Apollo Audio
Erection.
recording, production, rehearsal, tuition. If you're someone who wants to make a mark in the music business, get in touch with us because we want to help you. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
You sure you forgive me?